Right now, there is a hidden financial tax that only smart, highly analytical people pay. It doesn't come from the government. It doesn't show up on your bank statement. And the higher your IQ is, the more heavily you are being taxed. It is called the correctness ego, the psychological obsession with being intellectually right, even when it quietly undermines your financial progress. If you have ever held on to a losing investment because your original research should have been right, or if you've sat on cash for years waiting for a market crash you predicted to finally happen, you may be paying this tax. Today, we're stripping away the ego and looking at the psychology that keeps intelligent people financially stuck, and the exact 5-step audit you can run tonight to fix it. Most personal finance advice is built for people who struggle with impulse control. They tell you to stop buying lattes, to cut up your credit cards, to spend less and save more. But if you're an analytical overthinker, your problem usually isn't a lack of discipline, it's an obsession with optimization. In psychology, this is often driven by something called information bias, the flawed belief that more information always leads to better decisions. So what do? You spend 20 hours researching. You build a flawless spreadsheet. You consume every podcast. You develop an airtight thesis on exactly where the economy, the market, or interest rates are headed next. And right there, the trap snaps shut. Because once you've invested enough intellectual energy into being correct, your brain begins to tie your self-image to the outcome. If the market doesn't cooperate, it no longer feels like a normal financial event. It feels personal. It feels like all of that research should count for something. So instead of adapting, reassessing, or moving forward, you find yourself searching for more evidence to support the original idea. Most people don't consciously choose being right over building wealth. But when you've invested hundreds of hours into a financial thesis, your brain quietly starts treating that thesis like part of your identity. And that's where investing gets dangerous. The correctness ego attacks your wealth in two distinct ways. First, there's the active bleed. This is the investor who buys a speculative asset or a hot technology stock, watches it fall 40%, and refuses to change course. They tell themselves they're simply investing for the long term. But often what's really happening is an emotional attachment to the original thesis. Changing course feels emotionally expensive because it challenges all the work that went into the decision. Second, and much more common for people like us, is the passive paralysis. This is the person who refuses to enter the market because conditions aren't perfect. The valuation isn't right. The economy doesn't make sense. The Fed is doing something unusual. Or the market isn't behaving according to their carefully constructed theory. You tell yourself you're being cautious, prudent, calculated. In reality, you're waiting for certainty in a world that doesn't offer it. Meanwhile, your capital sits on the sidelines, slowly losing purchasing power to inflation, while simpler, less analytical investors build substantial wealth using basic, boring, automated index funds. They didn't build a perfect plan. They built a consistent one. And consistency wins far more often than complexity. The hardest investing lesson I ever learned wasn't that I needed more information. It was that the market wasn't grading my research paper. It didn't care how much I knew. It only cared what I actually did. Breaking out of this psychological loop requires moving away from intellectual narratives and moving toward objective reality. You have to separate your intellect from your portfolio. To help you do that, I created a tool called the Wealth Audit Checklist. It's completely free, and I've linked it in the top pinned comment. This isn't another complicated spreadsheet. It's a simple 10-minute audit designed specifically to bypass overthinking and expose the hidden gaps that may be slowing your financial progress. It helps you evaluate your actual financial foundation, identify leaks, and see where complexity may be getting in the way of consistent wealth building. If you want to stop paying the smart person's tax, pause this video, grab the checklist, and run your numbers tonight. To build real generational wealth, you don't need to be a financial prophet. You don't need to predict every recession. You don't need to forecast interest rates. And you don't need to have the highest IQ in the room. Your wealth will never be determined by how right you are about the future. It will be determined by your ability to keep moving forward, adapt when conditions change, and consistently take action over long periods of time. The market rewards growth. The market rewards adaptability. And the market rewards disciplined execution. So let go of the need to perfectly predict what's next. Download the audit, strengthen your foundation, and give yourself permission to make simple, imperfect progress. If this resonated with your inner overthinker, hit subscribe. I'll see you in the comments.